I stared out the window, my heart pounding in my chest, threatening to rip out of its cage. I paced down the floor of my room, occasionally peering through the window blinds. I narrowed my gaze, trying to see through the darkness that fogged outside, but was met only by the blinding darkness. I bit my lips, continuing my pacing again. The soft tap on my window caused me to jerk again. I stared at the window again, fear coursing through my veins. This is sick. How could some wannabe psycho push every trace of sleep from my eyes? I had only logged into Omegle in a desperate attempt to ease up some of the tension. Not like it would be any help, but still, I had to try. Or rather, feeling naughty and horny, I knew there was only one place to get both online in abundance. It had helped, more than ever. It felt great. 1 minute, I was texting a stranger, completely anonymous as Omegle was, and the next I found myself rubbing my behind the cab. The cab driver must have at one point seen me, because as I stepped out, he cast me a look that suddenly made me feel dirty, but I couldn't care less. I'd always been the type of girl to cross the lines just a bit. I made my way inside my apartment, taking off my clothes in the living room. It was then my phone buzzed. I paid no attention to it, tossing it on the couch. I was not really in the mood for any conversations, and exhausted from the long day, I walked towards the bathroom. My phone continued buzzing like the world was coming to an end. I groaned, turning back to the couch. Over 10 messages from a strange number. I opened the text, feeling my face burning. I clicked open the message. My jaw dropped. I blinked, trying to process what I saw. The stranger had sent screenshots of my conversation on Omegle. It is supposed to be anonymous, I thought. Staring at my screen, all my anger replaced with shock. "Who the f*** are you?" I texted back. He replied immediately. "Someone who knows your secret." My anger returned now with so much force my hands were trembling as I punched on the screen. "How the hell did you get my number? Who the bloody hell are you?" This time, he took a few seconds before replying. "Bloody. That's exactly how this will turn out if you don't do as I say." I blinked. A chill ran through my spine, and all the anger I'd been feeling vanished at the blink of an eye, replaced by a sudden cold that wasn't from the weather or the spinning fan. I had begun typing again when my phone rang. He was calling me. He was fucking calling me. I stared at my phone, unsure of what to do. The call ended. "Pick up, love." I tossed the phone to the bed. What was the worst he could do? Double-checking my door, I made my way to the bathroom, casting one glance at my phone. More buzzes. If he was still texting, then I was right to ignore him. Probably some sort of hacker who thought he could scare me. Truthfully, he half succeeded. I pushed my mind away from the thought, telling myself it was just some online prank. But when I stepped out, the room felt different. I scanned the room, wondering if it was my mind just being paranoid. My gaze rested on the door slightly ajar. A chill crawled up my spine as I stared at it. I had closed that door, I knew for sure. I walked carefully to the door, darting my gaze around searching for him. Just as I reached the couch, the sound of my phone caused me to jump out of my skin. I stared at the phone, my mind racing. "What do you want from me?" I said, trying to sound brave, but I knew I'd failed when my voice came out a pitch too high. He chuckled. "You have a nice bedroom," he said. I froze, my eyes bulging out of their socket. He was in my house. I stuttered, unable to find the right words. "Pink blanket you used to cover yourself in. Oh, Lord, your mattress feels so soft." The blood in my veins must have turned to ice by now. I turned around, picking up the knife from the kitchen. I made my way to the bedroom, trying to keep him on the line as I walked stealthily towards him. If I could sneak up on him, I grabbed a hold of the door's knob, sucked in a deep breath as I pushed the door slowly. I raised the knife, ready to strike as I charged in. The room was empty. My sheets ruffled as though someone had laid on the bed only minutes ago. "Why are you doing this?" I whimpered. "Come on now, don't cry on me. You love getting nasty. With strangers, don't you? We could do some nasty stuff. "Leave me alone or I'm calling the police," I blurted. "Don't you dare." His tone was serious now. By now I had enough. Without thinking, ended the call and dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? The operator had barely spoken when the clattering of metal from the kitchen caused me to jerk. He's coming. Oh God. The scraping of metal on the wall grew louder with each passing second, bringing me to my impending doom. I quivered where I stood, cursing the day. "There's someone in my house. He's trying to kill me," I cried out to the operator as I hastily rushed to the door, locking it. I pushed away from the door like it was a diseased person, my chest pounding somewhere in my throat now. The sound of the metal scraped near the door, followed by the soft tap. I closed my eyes, opening them almost instantly. I would rather see him coming, thank you very much. I turned around the room, searching desperately for something to save me, then grabbed hold of my bed lamp, holding it tightly around my arms. I waited with bated breath, my eyes fixed on the door. The door swung open. I lurched at him, screaming as I slammed the lamp into him. He collapsed to the ground, writhing in pain. I darted for the door, not glancing back to see if he was standing up or anything, raced out of the house as fast as I could, my heart pounding in my chest. Only when I heard the blaring of sirens did I stop in front of the car, pointing to my apartment, trying desperately to catch my breath. I continued to pull him, stronger and faster each second that passed, until we got back to our room. I kept a straight face until I was sure we were alone in the room before going into an outburst. He had just seen my crush and my roommate tried to make her notice me, something I didn't like. I was shy, and whenever I wanted to do something, I preferred to do it on my own terms without being forced. "Don't do that again," I told him. "I was only trying to help," he said. "Don't help me. I can do things myself." I plugged my earpiece and turned my back to him before lying down on my bed. It was bad enough that I was really shy, but it only got worse when I got matched with a nosy roommate. He always wanted to know everything, which was too much for me as I liked to keep to myself. A very loud knock on the door made me jump up. I didn't know if my roommate was expecting someone, but he didn't move an inch and looked really scared. "What's wrong?" I asked him, but he stared at me speechless. It was the first time I saw him helpless. He looked different, and I wanted to shake him off whatever he was thinking about, but it piqued my interest. I wanted to know who could make him feel like that, and if I could use their help anytime I needed him to be quiet. I opened the door, and an angry, huge student was staring back at me with his fists tightened. I tried to greet him, but he pushed me to the side. He walked in and searched the room frantically for something until his eyes met my roommate's. "Oh boy, we meet again. I've been knocking on different rooms trying to get yours, but I'm glad I have." He walked towards him, and with the posture that he took, I knew whatever was going to happen was not going to end well. I tried to ask what was going on, but neither of them answered me. My roommate, Ken, didn't say anything and didn't move an inch the more the guy moved towards him. "Omegle is not for people like you. You think I wouldn't find out you were the one sending those disturbing things to me and hiding under the name Invisible Judy? A college boy like me has ears and eyes everywhere." I was still trying to understand everything the guy said when I heard a loud thud. Ken was down on the floor with blood in his mouth. He tried to get up again, and the guy punched him harder, making him fall harder the second time. I tried to pull the guy aside, but he was too huge for me, and he only pushed me to the wall with little effort. I contacted the college's security as soon as he walked in and was still expecting them to come around when I heard Ken struggling to breathe. I crawled quickly to Ken's side and tried to keep him awake. The guy looked really disturbed and scared immediately. He was fierce, but seeing what he had done to Ken, he got scared. I scoffed at the sight. He tried to run when he was met by the securities. They walked in and took as many details as they could before walking the guy out of the room, while some of them attended to Ken and tried to keep him stable. I immediately called the ambulance and hoped that Ken lives to see another day. Outside, it was pitch black, so dark that I could hardly see anything as I stared through the window. I wondered how it would feel to walk alone in the dark, listening for sounds of some horror-like, supernatural manifestation. I chuckled. Of course, I was likely to see none. I left the window and turned back to the screen. There was a movie playing. It's past my best part, I grumbled before taking the remote to rewind it back. At 25, I was fascinated with zombies and ghosts, the boogeyman, everything that I had been thought to fear as a kid. Over the years, the fear had worn off, and in its place, this wonder grew. I wondered if any of it was true, the scary stories we were told. Then I toyed with the idea of reaching out to these supernatural entities myself, but my thoughts were merely idle wishes. I watched zombies tear through some survivors' defenses on the TV and rolled my eyes. Too predictable, I thought before I turned to my phone. I had been chatting with someone on Omegle and could not stop wondering what she looked like. Eva, that was her name. It was already late. Still, I initiated a call and waited. Maybe she was not sleeping. Maybe she was feeling as bored as I was and would be happy I had called to save her from that. I waited for a while. Just when I thought there would be no response from the other end, the screen of my phone brightened and someone stared back at me. Her eyes were wide open as she took me in. I did the same, and we did not speak for a while. Okay, she was beautiful. She had a full head of jet black hair, eyebrows that arced over her eyes, and lazy, long eyelashes hanging just over her brown eyes. "You didn't tell me you would call," she said finally. My tongue was still stuck to the roof of my mouth while my mind captured her face. "You know what time it is?" she asked again. She was looking at me curiously now. "Late," I managed to say. "And yet you called." She did not seem angry at all. On the contrary, there was a sly smile forming at the edges of her lips. "You're not mad?" I asked. "No." "So will you come over then?" I asked. We chatted about it, and I knew it was a foolish thing to do, but I had given her my address. The light from the light bulb flickered. "What was that?" she asked. Staring at this bulb instead of her eyes, I replied, "I don't know. I think something shifted." I was back to staring into her eyes again in no time. There was an eagerness in those eyes. "What are you doing? What's that sound?" she asked. "Oh, a movie. A horror movie," I quickly added. We had also chatted about horror movies not being frightening enough and having forced plots. "Is it good?" "Well, I would give it a 5. "Really?" "Yeah, solid 5 out of 10. "Well, that's not so solid. Let me see." I turned the phone's camera toward the TV screen, marveling at how well the both of us were relating, even though we were already chat buddies. It was strange for me seeing her act the exact same way she types. People were hardly like that. "Zombies," she said, laughing. "Come on, it's not—" The light flickered again. This time, the TV screen flickered with it. Then the lights went out. In the ensuing darkness, I was stunned with my phone still showing the silhouette of the TV to Eva. The silence that came with the darkness made my beating heart sound like a resounding echo through some unending void. "What just happened?" Eva asked. Her voice startled me. I turned the phone to myself, almost letting it slip out of my hand. She was still there, looking concerned. "I don't know," I said slowly. A sudden static sound from the TV made me jump. When I turned to the screen, it was still dark. The lights were still off. "Are you all right, Nathan?" Eva asked. I nodded, eyes still focused on the direction of the TV. Maybe I was going mad. But was it supposed to happen so quickly? As if in response to my question, I saw it. A twirling smoke-like shadow coming off the TV. I could barely make it out in the dark room. But after I did, I could feel my heart rate begin to slow down. The TV had probably gone bananas and was now smoking. That explained the static sound, I insisted. But what about the light? Should I call you back later? Eva asked. No, I stammered, looking into my phone. Thank goodness she was still on Omegle. I wanted to talk with her until I was sleepy. It was difficult admitting it, but I was suddenly scared. I was in an apartment all by myself, and I had never quite felt this vulnerable. Are you sure? She asked. My eyes entirely on her face, I nodded. She could make out some features of my face with the light from the phone screen. The static sound came again, and I froze. The smoke was coming off the TV frame once more. This time, another shape followed it. The phone slipped from my hand and crashed to the floor. The shadow moved to the side, and another shadow slipped out from behind the TV frame. I had had enough. Nathan, are you okay? What's going on? Eva's voice faded into the background as I raced from the room down the hallway. The shadows were in the way of the exit, and there was nothing I could do except to find refuge further inside the apartment. I found the door to another room, pulled it open, and slammed it shut. Immediately I got in, engaging the bolts just as fast. Then I backed myself into the wall at the other end slowly, my eyes never leaving the door. It seemed my apartment was the only one without light. From the vent, 7 feet above and behind me, some illumination filtered in, making the room semi-dark. My back was against the wall, and yet I would not stop pushing. Something slammed into the door from the other side, and I shivered. Whatever it was, I prayed for it not to be able to get in here, as it slammed itself against the door again and again. Then everything became quiet. I listened, my breath stuck in my throat. All thoughts of my video chat on Omegle with Eva. A little movement at the door sent my heart into fluttering beats. The shadows, they were slipping in through the gap between the door and the floor. The shadow was getting bigger, blotting out the little lighting in the room. I shut my eyes, tremors washing through my body. Anybody in here? My eyes sprang open. The light was back. The room was flooded with brightness. The voice was from the hallway. I could hear footsteps. The sound of the police sirens also traveled up to the room from downstairs. I rushed the door, peeping through the cracks. A couple of policemen were walking along the hallway, looking into the other rooms. Eva must have called the police. My eyes watched the hallway cautiously. There was no sign of the shadow. I heaved a sigh of relief and started looking out for some other peaceful and safe place to move in. You know, searching for a new spot takes time. It has been a week since this whole crazy incident, and I cannot wait to vacate this eerie building.